I guess the biggest problem I have with Trump himself is his supporters. People who will wear the red hats, shout his slogans, repeat his lies, but understanding the truth behind the lies. The smiling face or the angry face or the two social boards. I guess that's why I have the most problem with Trump, his supporters. Whether it be Latinos for Trump, blacks for Trump. And you would think that after the truth of everything about him and Jeffrey Epstein and everything else would actually dissuade these people from supporting him, but isn't. But I want to talk about the subset of people who support Trump the most, the women, in government and out of government. They're the worst of all. Worse than Latinos for Trump, considering what he's doing to immigrants, legal or otherwise, in this country. Worse than blacks for Trump, considering what he and his supporters in the government are doing to African Americans or are planning to do to African Americans in this country. But to help me illustrate this, I'm going to read you an article from John Plavotz, The Powerful Women Who Protect a Predator. I can understand why conservative men support a serial predator like Trump. He embodies the fragile masculinity that so many are afflicted with. He validates their misogyny, giving voice to the antiquated, knuckle-dragging, sexist garbage they save from mindless locker room monologues and man cave hangs with other neighborhood Neanderthals. Trump is the unsurprising idol of teenage college young men who distort a view of manhood that has been shaped in conservative churches, insular message boards, and Do Bro podcast episodes. They are predatory birds of a feather, and their advocacy, though sickening, also almost makes sense. It is an act of self-preservation, a propping up of their own. He is a monstrous avatar who can represent them in places of power that they can never hope to enter. It's completely expected that Republican men in Congress would fiercely obstruct the release of the Epstein files, as many of them risk exposure themselves, as well as the crumbling and brutal empire they sit atop and benefit from. All in all, knowing that 80% of women have experienced sexual assault or harassment at some times in their lives, it's almost understandable that tens of millions of men in this country would almost be among the rabid, cultic base of serial scumbag like the sitting president. As pathetic and as sad as that is, there is still a perverse logic to it. What I can't fathom is that there are women who see all they have seen over the last decade, the genitalia grabbing bravado of Trump.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the.
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that. Yeah.
The incestuous remarks about his own daughter.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
his extensive adultery, his porn star affairs, and his ubiquitous presence in the Jeffrey Epstein files, more that have been revealed to show that he is involved, who remain unwavering even now. It's impossible to make sense of mothers with daughters who witness him being found liable in court for sexual assault, watch him gleefully take away a woman's body autonomy under the law, and work tirelessly to prevent the release of evidence that would expose his decades of pedophilia, rape, and child trafficking, and we have chosen to double down on that. But perhaps the most stomach-turning of all are the women like Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, Pam Bundy, the attorney general, Christine Noem, Homeland Security Secretary, Megyn Kelly, a podcaster, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, Maria Bartiromo, and Lauren Ingraham, Fox News talking heads. Women with the power and the platform that few are given, and are using both to perpetuate the pain of other women. Their willingness to serve as a mouthpiece, a cheerleader, a proxy, and an instrument of injury for Donald Trump boggles the mind of anyone still capable of compassion and critical thinking. These women know damn well that Donald Trump is a rapist and a pedophile. They're fully aware about the absolute horrors he and Epstein and his collaborators have put hundreds, perhaps thousands of girls and young women through. They have both the knowledge and the prophetic evil that this man is responsible for and the ability to make him accountable, whether it be a podcast or dragging its ass into a courtroom. Yet these women are willing to deny survivors of justice, to exacerbate their trauma and stand in the way of justice, all to line their pockets, build their brand, and to keep their party in some kind of power. When the full, unredacted truth of Epstein and Trump's complete resume of abuse is finally dragged into the ranking light of public access, so will the degree of their obstruction and the gravity of their gaslighting of the American people. History will declare them as shameful mothers, betrayers of victims of violence, and disgraces to our nation. They broke through the glass ceiling and are wounding other women with their jagged shards. The Jesus of the scriptures that nearly all conservatives loudly claim to treasure asks the question, what can profit a man if he gains the world but loses his soul? Rest assured that he's asking that of these women too. Thank you, John Pavlitz. And I'm going to answer that question. What can it profit a man if he gains the world but loses his soul? Donald Trump could care less about his soul. His followers can care less about their souls. They would watch the world burn as long as they can keep the MAGA hat on their head. In this particular case, and I have said this over and over again, and I make no apologies for it, Donald Trump could break into their homes and rape their wives and daughters, and Donald Trump supporters, both men and women, wouldn't even blink. That's where we are in this nation now, because it's happening now. CTP, know the truth. God bless. Peace to love, justice to right.